Yo, what up? My name is Don, and some of you may know that I'm a guitar player, and I actually have a couple guitar covers here on YouTube that I'm super stoked on, and there will be more. But today I want to talk about an injury that I actually sustained playing guitar, and because I'm going to go to the doctors tomorrow to decide how we're going to go about taking care of this injury ultimately, I figured now was a good time to go into talking about how I got the injury, how I went to physio, and some of the things I'm doing to work through the injuries, everything from the wrist injury, which is a ganglion cyst injury, to tendonitis, which I developed in both my shoulders and both my elbows, to shoulder impingement, which I'm actually dealing with right now in my right shoulder. So, if you're a guitar player or you do other sports, and if you've sustained any of these injuries, and you want to hear some a firsthand account of, how I am going through this, stick around, and we'll get right into it. Okay, so a couple years ago, 2022, early 2022, I'm actually a guitar streamer, and I've been streaming for like 15 plus years. So if you don't know, I will put the links down in the description. Check it out, twitch.tv/ihasabucket or kick.com/canhasabucket. Like I said, they'll be down in the description. But anyways, I was playing guitar quite a lot, and by quite a lot, I mean that every day I would be streaming guitar for anywhere from 10 to 15 hours, often the average being like 12 hours of, you know, not just straight sitting down for 12 hours, but ultimately the stream would be 12 hours of playing guitar. And the I think first what happened was the tendonitis. I started feeling a little bit of tightness in my elbows and ultimately in my forearms. Your tendons get strained, and all of these injuries from the tendonitis, to the ganglion cyst. I'm not sure about the shoulder impingement so much, but the other two for sure are kind of like strain injuries. They happen from doing something repetitively over time that ultimately like just you know, breaks or gets to a point where it just, you know, it kind of hurts way too bad. So, having tendonitis, um, really sucks. And basically it was, because I was practicing such, technically difficult songs for such long periods of time over the course of a couple months and, not stretching enough, not letting my arms rest enough, basically all of the above. Everything that you could do wrong or bad or to mess up your arms is what I was doing time and time again until I got to a point where the pain in my and you can kind of see it here. I'll try to show it on video. The pain, it's kind of like you can dig. I'm kind of skinny, so you can kind of see this divot in my arm right about here. It's right kind of where are we? We are right here. So it's on the forearm side of the elbow. It's kinda like where your tendons, I guess, exit or, go over the bone. But if you can kinda, like, push in here and feel any sort of pain, you will know that and there's a spot here on the kind of, I guess, more midsection or kind of like rear section of the elbow a little bit, where you can feel, I can feel my tendons being, in pain. So if I bring my other arm up here and I kinda try to show you the spot, it doesn't hurt so much anymore. It's easier to feel the straighter you have your arm, and it's almost easier to see. So basically right here, uh, it's a little bit tender, but it's nowhere near how bad it used to be. And I mean like the slightest, indentation of my finger, the slightest push would be this kind of excruciating pain throughout my arm. And ultimately, I'm not, this is not medical advice. This is kind of just what I went through. Um, Initially, I had gone to a physiotherapist and I was trying to explain to them. And this is a physiotherapy place, near me that's not essentially specialized in sports. They're just a general physiotherapy place. And I think if I were to sustain this injury again, I would try to find I don't know if they go by the title doctor or basically a physiotherapist person that specializes in sports physiotherapy, um, because this is something they call it tennis elbow. That's a very common name for it. This is something that can happen in other sports. I guess I'm guessing like for some reason like baseball, like a pitcher would be maybe like a common culprit of somebody to go through this, or somebody that's just putting a lot of strain on their, on their tendons, in general. But when I went to physio, they had me do, all sorts of exercises, and basically the ultimate message I got was that stretching is so important, and it really is. It really, really is. Like, whether it's, your arms, your legs, or your back, or another part of your body, stretching is so important. And I'm a guitar player, and I spend a lot of time sitting in this chair or standing up, rocking out. And either way, even though you're thinking you're only using, you may be thinking, I'm not saying everybody's thinking this, but you may be thinking, okay, I'm only using my arms, I'm only using my hands. That's all I really need to worry about. When you're standing up and rocking out for 4 hours on a stream, 4 hours plus, like 4 hours can sometimes be a very short stream for me. Sometimes I can go for 8 hours plus, based on how the audience is, and whatever else. And you're rocking out, you're headbanging, you have the weight of either guitar. You can see kind of two of my guitars in the frame here. You can see this is my V, it's an ESP Arrow if you're a guitar player, and this one is a ESP Eclipse, the camo one. So either it doesn't matter. Like the V is this one is a little lighter and this one is heavier, but it really doesn't matter. Either way, you're holding a guitar on you, and the weight on your body for so long, and so you have to, you know what I mean? Like that weight's always on one side, always on one shoulder. You really should just be stretching before and after you play guitar, your whole body, because whether, it's something like we could even talk about posture, and how posture is super important, and how um the posture that I maintained a lot of the time when I had my initial tendonitis injuries in my shoulders and my elbows, was I was sitting with the eclipse and the cutout on the bottom side over my right leg. So I would be like this basically, right? And what that would do is that would kink this shoulder up, and so you can see how low my shoulder sits when I'm relaxed, right? But what it would do in that position is kink this shoulder up and always have this shoulder. Do you know how long it took me to break this feeling? And it's something that a lot of new players, it doesn't even feel good to do this anymore. It puts a kink in my neck on the opposite side too, right? But anyways, um a lot of newer players and a lot of us guitar players in general, when we're playing fast, we tend to tense up. And sometimes I still catch myself doing it, whether it's just like a little bit of a shoulder raise, like, like that, or it's I don't really like tense up to this anymore, but I can definitely I can feel my neck. My neck's like, will you stop doing that? But it can still happen. So anyways, I was in a position like this all the time, which kept my elbow very constricted, right? And didn't, I guess, give my tendons a lot of, leeway to just be free and be able to move over the bone like they need to, right? So I would practice like that all the time for however many hours straight without stretching and everything like that. And a lot of the time, this is kinda getting into the other injury now. I would have this hand, uh, yeah, I would this is the thing of holding too much tension, I personally think as well. Instead of having my hand perpendicular to the guitar neck, so if the guitar neck was in my hand, instead of having my hand over the fretboard like this, I would have my hand kinked over the guitar like that. So you can see, and you can even see it from here. This lump on my hand is not, this is not normal, right? That's not on my other hand, and I'm not talking about my little, my wrist or whatever. I'm talking about that lump right there is definitely not normal, and that lump was much bigger before. And again, it's an injury that happens over time, because there's for the wrist, there's this little sac inside your wrist that acts like this lubricant sac between the bones to make sure the bone doesn't like off each other. And you can see it from the side here. This guy, this guy right here, right? That's not normal. I'm not sure if you can see it from that way. You can definitely see it from that way, right? That's I definitely am trying to get that taken care of tomorrow, because I do want to play guitar for the rest of my life, and I do want to, um, you know, be able to write fast stuff. I want to be able to write very expressive stuff, whether it's fast or whether it's just extensive, like ongoing. And even in my guitar streams now, it doesn't matter. This has gotten to the point where it's affecting, and it's been at that point for a long time, but it's affecting my everyday everything of use with this hand. So um I personally am pushing for operation, and hopefully they don't mess up my hands. So I mean, I guess I'll keep you guys updated on that. But from the shoulder tendonitis type injuries in the elbow, it's all holding too much tension. And so stretching and keeping the body loose and being very mentally aware of what you're doing when you're playing, whether it's a sport or whether it's guitar or whether it's anything else, is so important. To be mindful of your body is like so important, right? And this is like, I would have never thought about this, not because it's cheesy or anything like that. It just didn't come to mind through many years of my guitar playing until until I'm sitting in this chair, and then one day I'm like, "Ah, my arms are really hurting," and I would just push through it, right? I'd just be like, I'd kinda just be like this. I'd be like, "Ah, like, my arms are hurting, let me just, like, just wiggle them off and keep plowing through for another, like, 4 to 6 hours that day." No, sometimes you gotta know when to rest. Sometimes you gotta know when to put it down because, you will end up in a situation where, um, it took a long time. I'm talking, like, over a year and a half for my elbows to not feel so messed up and for my shoulders to not feel so messed up. This shoulder has come back beautifully. And when I say come back, I mean the amount of flexibility I have to, when if I'm doing like um I call them, like, I guess, half windmills or whatever. Just if I'm trying to do like a kind of shoulder rotation like that, or if I'm standing up and doing a full shoulder rotation, I can actually do the full shoulder rotation, and the tension or the pain I'm feeling, I feel like it's just regular. Oh, I feel unstretched. This shoulder is dealing with shoulder impingement still, where sometimes this shoulder feels like it's just dead weight. It feels one of the symptoms of shoulder impingement is that your arm feels numb. I call it dead weight. It feels like the arm just wants to drop, like as if like there's no blood circulation to it. The arm feels very heavy to do anything with, so it's not a good feeling at all. And one of the things that I've kind of picked up in a few videos on the shoulder impingement side of things is um, is that basically your tendons are getting impinged. They're getting pinched, right? They don't have as much room. Something is pinching here. Like it doesn't have enough room to move. So one of the things that I'm picking up from a lot of videos is to do like shoulder rotations. Whether you hold your arms up and you kind of like do little hand circles or fist circles at the sky, and so that's going to get your shoulder rotator cuff things move in a new way. And you can do that to the side too. You know what I mean? Like all of these motions are going to help. Whether you want to do them wide or whether you want to do little circles. The other one, again, that I pick up from a lot of videos is to be able to hang off something, literally just to be able to hang off something and kind of like decompress the shoulder. um, there's I will put some videos that have helped me in the description below that speak on these topics in much more experienced detail because these people are physiotherapists or they're, whatever. They've actually been educated on what they're talking about. And I'm just speaking about it from a these are the things I found that helped me. These may help you. This is my experience kind of perspective. Yeah. So now I want to get onto the hand thing, which is the ganglion cyst injury. That's what they call it. That's the sac in your hand that basically, like I was saying, now have tried to I've had to kind of reteach myself how to play guitar and make sure that I'm keeping my wrist very, very straight. I'll put my wrist like this, you can see very straight, as opposed to when I have the guitar in my hand, you know, uh, it can be a thing where I was playing the guitar too low. So when I have the guitar too low, my hands like kind of like wrapped around the fretboard, trying to like, you know what I mean, like be like that. And like um, I see people who play fast and do this. You could definitely do this, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's about doing it so much over a strained period of time. So if your wrist is like this and you have a sack in your wrist, obviously everybody knows what's gonna happen. It's gonna bulge out like a V, right? So the bottom is pinched right now. Sorry, I should show you on this side. It'll be like a V, right? So the bottom would be pinched and the top would be like flared out, right? So like a V shape, right? On my wrist, like this, right? So that's obviously a result of it's kind of what happens. The sack gets to a point where it can't hold any more pressure you're putting on it. And one day I just did something that was just, I guess, too much or too whatever. I kinked it, like this too much, and bam, and this is like 25, I don't know, 15% of what it was at one point. At one point, this was like a literal, like you could fit like the size of a nickel beside it vertically, like on its, you know what I mean? Like I could be looking at the nickel's face to my face, and it would be like that big. Like it was big, like, you know what I mean? So it's not a fluid that's, the fluid is thick. It's quite thick when it like leaks out the sac, basically. And so there are two ways to take care of an injury like this, and the two other injuries are things that um, you can deal with yourself through basically stretching, you know, working out these areas better in a very restorative kind of workout day, not putting load on them or anything, not putting weight on them, but in a restorative workout way. So I do mean stretching and doing things that are more, you know, I'm trying to heal mindset. I'm trying to make this better mindset, right? You can do that with these two other injuries. So the only thing that's really bugging me now is the shoulder impingement, but um uh, just to note, back on the arms for just a second, one of the things I do nowadays is I've adjusted my guitar height to be maybe a little bit lower, but still comfortable for this hand and comfortable for this arm, so that this arm can rest a little lower. So like when I'm standing up, this arm is like it's more out like this. It's more out like this. I'm playing more. I'm strumming more relaxed rather than my arm being way up here and jacked up. So um, maybe I can like show a little video clip of that or something. What the difference in what that looks like. Um, but getting back to the wrist now, um, once that happened, I definitely stopped playing because I was like freaking out that there's this big bulge in my wrist. Obviously, at that point, visually, I knew that, oh my god, something is wrong, right? Um, yeah. So uh, there are like three ways to take care of this. Technically, two ways that are like doctor related, or them intervening related, which is one is to when the sac is big or whatever, or burst or whatever, they can stick a needle into it and drain it, basically, which doesn't remove the injury tissue or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't remove the part that burst. It doesn't guarantee that it won't happen again. Um, for somebody, if it was a freak accident, I guess, but because I'm somebody who, like, if I was, it doesn't even matter. Like, okay, I can't think of another profession that would use the wrist in the same way, but being a guitar player and being somebody that wants to incorporate guitar into being something that attributes to the rest of my creative career, um, yeah, I don't know how to, uh, the idea that we could drain it and that doesn't guarantee it wouldn't come back isn't very peace of mind. There's, you know what I mean? It doesn't secure my peace of mind at all. So I would much rather, like the conversation I'm going to try to have tomorrow with the doctor, is to push for operation, understanding the risks of it. Like there's risks with everything. I'm just going to be like, listen, don't mess up my hand, doc. Like seriously, you know, drink your coffee that morning. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Like don't mess up my hand, please. But like at this point, uh, I this happened 2 years ago, so I've already been to and waited in the horrendous Canadian healthcare system, which is a whole different topic of conversation. But whatever. I waited a long time to get the ultrasounds, which confirmed that it was a ganglion cyst multiple times now, and confirmed that it was inflamed to a point that they were going to stick the needle in it as their initial approach of solving it. I was like, whatever, do what you need to do, right? Because I was so depressed. I actually got to the point where I was depressed that I couldn't play guitar because, my hands messed up. And I'm a little nervous tomorrow, not because anything's gonna happen right away, but I, you know, there's no other solution for me other than operation, because I want to get to a point where this lump, as you can see from the front even, isn't impeding the movement of my other fingers. At this point, it's gotten to a point where I can feel the tightness in my um in my thumb. I can feel the tightness in my index finger. It's just my hand, even though I still play guitar and I don't think it's limited me, it's just getting to a point where, on the top, you know, like, how should I say? Um, there just has been a decrease in range of motion. And so when I'm trying to do certain things on guitar, it is very limiting, or sometimes it does send a shooting pain through it, or some sort of shooting pain through my wrist. And I don't know if it's because I moved a certain finger a certain way, or I tried to hold, the guitar neck too tight with my thumb. I'm past the point mentally where I can deal with it, and I'd rather just have it gone, including whatever injured tissue inside. Just take it out, get rid of it, whatever. The third option is just like I guess my body was doing, is that it just goes away. Like the body just absorbs the fluid that leaked out of this sac that is inside your wrist. Gross. So that's happened already because nobody's gone inside my wrist yet, and the size has decreased. You know what I'm saying? It's there still, but the size has largely decreased. And so I don't know what happened to it. I don't know what happens to the liquid. I don't know where it goes. I don't know what your body does with it, but it goes somewhere. And I'm like, what the f, bro? So it just leaked out into the rest of my hand, and that's great. That's not you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to react to that. So that's got me already, like, kinda messed up. And, yeah. So, if they do operation, like I've read, it's gonna be, like, a couple weeks of recovery. So, uh, my creative career, I feel like, is like, I don't really use I can't think of another important thing for my left wrist. I'm not like I don't like shoot like bow and arrow or like, well, I'm a photographer, and honestly, when I first sustained the injury, my wrist was so weak that putting weight on it, even holding weight from this way up, this way up. So like the weight of my camera, for example, I have my camera on my desk right here, and just to hold the weight of the camera like this in my hand was pretty painful, depending on what lens I was using. So that's a bummer, and it's better now, but it's not. It's like saying once you injure something, it's never the same. I'm really hoping that I can get it to be the same eventually, but I just need them to deal with this giant lump or this giant mass in my hand that's just like calcified or semi solidified or just, you know what I mean? Like we need to deal with this, doc. So I don't know. And then in my other hand, I'm dealing with a bit of like numbness, carpal tunnel. I don't even know, man. So take care of your hands. Stretch, 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 stretch. 2 out of 3 of those injuries that I talked about, which is having tendonitis in your elbows or having tendonitis in your shoulders, which is kind of the same thing. The other one was the shoulder impingement, which again is in shoulders. For me, it's happening in my right shoulder. Some days it's worse than others. Those are both things that you can take care of yourself and get back to feeling 100% on them. The ganglion cyst, if you've sustained a ganglion cyst injury, sound off in the comments below. And let me know how you dealt with it, especially if you did go through with the operation, because again, there's only 2 ways to deal with it really: an invasive, thing, or stick a needle in it and drain it and just hope that it seals up or something like that. But that will be it from me. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Just kind of, I don't do many personal videos like this, or insight videos like this, or whatever this is. But that is happening tomorrow, and it is going to affect every facet of my content creation. I do make content, you know, from guitar, not all the time, but I do, like, I where I play guitar most is on my live stream. Doing more guitar covers on YouTube is just something that I want to start doing again. It's just building up that confidence thing, and I also do put some of my guitar content on TikTok and stuff like that. So this will affect it, but I want to do more content where I can connect to my audience and stuff like that, and more gaming content. So uh, eventually, I will do a bit of an update video to let you guys know how this went, and if I am going into operation, I'll probably stick those pieces of content to talk about together in one video, and we'll see what happens. Wish me luck. Hopefully, anybody that's gone through these injuries has come out 100% on the other side. And as always, if you like content like this and you want to see more, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.